here is what is coming up on the program. Southampton slopes, how the Winter Olympics have increased participation. And our score center is back with all the latest university results. Good afternoon and welcome to Solent Sports News. I'm Denis Alecu and here are the latest sporting headlines. We start in South Korea, where the Winter Olympic Games are underway. Hampshire has several athletes performing as part of Team Great Britain, with one such competitor being snowboarder Billy Morgan. Billy grew up in Southampton and used to train at the city's Snow Sports Centre. Our reporter Ashley Wilby met with one of the instructors at the centre, who also happens to be a good friend of the local Olympian.
The Winter Olympics is well underway and Southampton-born snowboarder Billy Morgan suffered disappointment in not qualifying for the slopestyle event in Pyeongchang on Saturday. Although the 28-year-old will be hoping it's not a slippery slope when he takes on the big air event in a couple of weeks' time.
I get real nervous in the morning when I wake up. If I wake up early, I can't get back to sleep because I'm like worrying about it. But I think riding today will actually help because I was really worried about the course being hectic and I'm not getting on, not being able to do the tricks that I want to do on the jumps, but the jumps feel real nice and I'm feeling more confident after riding today.
One man who knows Billy better than most is longtime friend Will Morris, who is the lead snowboard instructor at Alpine Snow Sports Centre in Southampton.
So I've known Billy since I was probably about 8 years old, something like that. Used to go to school with him. Used to do gymnastics with him as well. This is a long time ago. We both started snowboarding around 16, 17. We went on holiday together for 5 months in France, what's known as a season, just to build up our experience in the sport itself. He was obviously quite talented at it from the gymnastics background he had. I was on a learning curve in terms of I hadn't done as much on snow as he had at the time. And then at the end of that season, he got his first sponsorship. And that was with West Beach, I believe. And then I went and did my qualifications for learn to teach. And so we took different paths from there, really. He's determined in literally everything he does. He'll put 110% in literally everything he does. He's one of those guys when we were at school that he would be the guy that would get you out and doing things. You see all these kids now that want to sit in front of their PlayStation or whatever and sit on their phone doing Instagram and all the rest of it, and he would be the guy that would be like, right, let's go rock climbing, or right, let's go to the beach, or let's go out on bikes or something like that. And so it doesn't surprise me that he's got the mentality he has.
With Billy's credentials fully on show at the biggest stage of them all, what has this done for inspiration on the next generation of young snowboarders?
He already has. It was the same thing we had with the Sochi Olympics 4 years ago. The amount of buzz that was created from not just Billy, but obviously Jamie Nichols and Amy Fuller and all the other British guys as well. Jenny Jones, when she came down here and did showed off her bronze medal that she managed to win. The amount of kids that came down and how it was received was amazing. And we started up a satellite club 4 years ago where kids came down. They'd obviously seen the Olympics and thought, hey, I want a bit of that. I want to see what this is all about. And you should see some of the kids that come down now. It's mad how progression works when they've got that inspiration behind it and see what you can achieve if you put your mind to it.
Moving back to home turf, Southampton have lost again in the Premier League. The Saints were beaten 2-0 by Liverpool on Sunday with 2 first half goals from Roberto Firmino and Mo Salah. Virgil van Dijk faced a hostile reception from the home crowd on his return to St Mary's, but ultimately had the last laugh as the visitors took all 3 points. Elsewhere in football, Portsmouth left in late to get their first win of 2018. They beat MK Dons 2-1 in League One thanks to 2 goals in the final 10 minutes. Matthew Clark cancelled out Ike Agbo's early goal for the hosts before Connor Chaplin scored the 93rd minute. The result lifts Pompey to 8th in the table and revives their playoff dreams. One of the most greatest female sports stars of all time returned to action on Sunday. Serena Williams picked up a racket for the first time in over a year as she teamed with sister Venus for the US team in the Fed Cup. The 23-time Grand Slam champion gave birth 5 months ago and the focus of the match was most certainly on her return, but she was quick to try and redirect the attention back to her teammates.
It was really special to be back out here with Venus, and we're so happy that Team USA won today. And Venus and Coco and Kathy and Lauren, we were really happy to be here and advance to the next round.
Is this the most chill game of cricket this year? Some of the sport's most iconic players took part in this year's edition of St. Moritz Ice Cricket Challenge. The likes of Monty Pensar and Virender Sehwag took to the snow and ice in a T20 style game. For some, the match wasn't even the most impressive part of the event.
I would just take a moment and please take a view of all of these beautiful mountains. Just have a look at this. This is absolutely wonderful. How many mountains are there? I think it's 1, 2, 3, well, that's 5, 6, about 10 mountains. 10 mountains and we got a game of cricket here. Who would have thought when I was bowling in Australia with Matt Pryor we would ever play cricket on ice in Switzerland? But there you go. Anything is possible.
In rugby union, England made it. 2 wins from 2 in the Six Nations. They beat Wales by 12 points to 6 at Twickenham, building one last week victory against Italy. In the other Six Nations games, Ireland convincingly beat Italy 56 to 19, whilst Scotland beat France with a score of 32 to 26. And finally, the university teams have had another busy week in the Bucks League. We can cross over to Linus Harrington in our score center to find out how they got on.
Thanks, Dennis. Yes, I am back here in our Solent Sports News Score Centre. But this week, we'll be looking at the results for the university teams over the past 7 days. We've got a lot of sports to get through, so let's kick things off with the football scores. There were 3 games played on Wednesday, with the guys and girls of Solent University picking up a clean sweep of victories. The men's second team produced the result of the week, thumping South Wales 11-1 in the Western 6A League. Far less goals in the other 2 games though, as both the men's and women's first teams took on South Coast rivals Bournemouth. The men's team walked away with a 1-0 win in the Western 2A League, whilst the women's team went one better in their Western 1A fixture, beating Bournemouth by 2-0. And it wasn't just the football that saw Solent's teams clash with their varsity counterparts. The sides also faced off on the basketball and badminton courts. In badminton, the women's first were beaten 6-2 by Bournemouth in their Western Conference Cup match. And it was also defeat for Solent in the basketball, as the women's first suffered defeat in the Western 1A League, beaten by 80 points to 66. Elsewhere in basketball, the Solent men's second team took on city rivals University of Southampton in the Western 2A League. They fared slightly better than the women's team, running out 69-58 victors. There was also a Southampton City face-off in the hockey, where Solent men's firsts were beaten 3-1 by the Uni of Southampton men's second. The women's first achieved a much better result though, beating Plymouth women's seconds in the Western 3A League. Unfortunately, that is where the positive results end for Solent University. Rounding off Wednesday's fixtures, the men's firsts were beaten 3-2 by Plymouth men's first in the squash. The women's firsts were also beaten 3-2, this time in their table tennis clash against Aberystwyth. A team didn't even make it to the field for the women's rugby union game against Exeter, whilst the University of the West of England women's beat Solent women 38-27 in netball. And things didn't improve in the 2 Sunday games either, as the men's firsts were beaten 8-2 by Exeter men's seconds in futsal, whilst the American football mixed team also faced up against Exeter, losing by 24 points to 15. Overall, Southampton Solent University find themselves placed 75th in the Bucks League table on 315 points. We're now over halfway through the current season, and there's plenty of work to be done if Solent wish to match last year's rank of 58th. Well, that's all from me here in the Solent Sports News Score Centre. Back over to you, Dennis.
And that is all the time we have for you tonight. Remember, if you want to keep up to date with all of the latest stories, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter or on our website. We will be back next week with more sporting headlines.